Good afternoon, Ashish, and
Good
we
afternoon.
welcome you to this episode of Future of Work. This is a series of interviews which we do with people from the corporate industry, with professionals, with various HR folks, etc., to understand how the future of work is evolving, especially after the pandemic, and we have seen many people coming back to office. As you're aware, there's a multiple changes which has happened in the industry with respect to the work culture, work style, demands. We hear a bit about moonlighting, debates around that and all that stuff. And also a high level of attrition in the IT industry and ways and means on how to control it, how to give more flexibility, etc. to people. So in this context, we wanted to hear views from people like you in terms of how this is evolving and where is it going to go forward.
Right.
So in that context, Ashish, to start with, today employees have multiple options, right? There's a remote work, there is work from anywhere, as people call it. There is work from home. There is this concept called satellite offices. Some companies ask them to come back to the central location, but they're finding it difficult. So, amongst all these options, where do you see this future of work evolving, and where is it heading towards? What are your views, Ashish?
Santosh, first off, thanks for having me. Glad to be here. Look, since the first wave of the pandemic, the entire way of working for the industry has been upended. New models have come up, starting from forced work from home at that point. Now that model has come to stay. That model is evolving in the sense that each company, each function, each business is trying to find its balance of how much work from home versus how much to bring in office. Can it be hybrid? So every business is trying to find its own balance given its workforce. Everyone will come to a different answer, but the reality is that working remotely is here to stay and it's not going away. This is the new normal. That said, so what that has meant is that a lot of people who were initially working in office now have gone to their native towns and remote places. They're managing work remotely. At the same time, a lot of employers are beginning to discover now that some functions, some businesses, you have to have some semblance of a formal setup where you can bring people in periodically, if not every day. And that if you don't do that, then it starts impacting the productivity or the quality of the work. At the same time, the workforce is very firm in its asks of working remotely. So I think we are now beginning to come to a hybrid model where workplaces will move away from the metro towns, come closer to where the people are located. So I do think we are already seeing satellite offices beginning to come up. There are various models evolving. The larger firms are saying, hey, 3 days work in office, etc. But I think the satellite towns and satellite offices in tier 2, tier 3s is another model that's beginning to come up. A lot of our customers and clients are also looking at that, are asking for satellite offices. So I think that model is evolving, but the work from home, work remote model is here to stay.
Interesting. And you spoke about work from home and remote working, etc. So in this new context, what have you observed with respect to the demands and behavior of employees now? We some of them we want to bring to a central office, or we call them to a satellite office, but we have heard that in many cases they are reluctant even to move away from work from home. So how have you looked at what are the behaviors and demands which has emerged when we look at people coming back to office, when we ask them to come back to office?
Right, Santosh, look, it's a employee's cycle right now. So the employee is the king at this point, and they are driving the salary levels. They are driving and they're driving. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. We can continue. Ashish, I can hear you.
So these folks are now asking, driving the salary levels, and also demanding what kind of work they want, how they want to work, remote, hybrid, etc. But this is a cycle. Like I said, companies are trying to find the balance. What people are also discovering is certain functions don't really lend themselves to remote working or entirely remote working. Any function which requires collaboration and design thinking or creativity, etc. Any product design functions, right? So people are discovering functions like this may not be the answer. On the other hand, shared service functions like finance and back office functions lend themselves more to work from office, work from home environment. So I think all companies will try and find their balance on certain functions will work more from office, certain functions will move, work remotely entirely. So that balance people are still trying to discover, and hence the entire workplace model is evolving as we speak.
So, Ashish, how is this changing culture impacting women in workforce? Do you see this favoring them in some way of remote working and work from home compared to what we had before? And is it allowing you to increase the spread of women workforce in your organization?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think the evolving models are bringing women back into the workforce. It gives them a lot of, there is job security, there is physical security. So I think we will see more and more women re-enter or enter the workspace, workforce.
Interesting. Ashish, another hot topic these days is about moonlighting. There are enough press on the topic, bad and good, right? Favoring and there's enough debates I've seen. I'll be quite interested to hear your views on moonlighting and how you and your organization sees this and how you're welcoming this or not welcoming this.
Yeah, so this is a hot topic and politically charged topic. Look, my personal view is, again, I think moonlighting is one of those things that is here to stay. However, there are a lot of ethical concerns and the around whether you should allow moonlighting or not, etc. I think the answer depends on what functions they are. If you are anyone who's dealing with confidential information, proprietary information, or you're dealing with IP, etc., then moonlighting becomes very, very difficult for any organization to allow. If you are, and this also means if you're working for in IT, especially design functions, if you're working on a specific client, right? If you're dealing with the IP of another large organization, it becomes very difficult for employers to allow moonlighting because of IP concerns. So these are ethical questions where I don't have the answers, but I think the answers will have to emerge. I do think other things like advisory functions where you're not really dealing with IP or confidential information, their moonlighting will happen, right? And now at the same time, if moonlighting need not always be where you're dealing with where someone is moonlighting and doing something very similar to what they're doing for a larger employer. For instance, a person could be doing tuitions for children. So those kind of things will definitely happen, and in some ways it's good for that to happen for the economy, for the individuals. But how does one know? How does an employer know what's going on? Those are the questions that we will have to figure out as an industry. I don't purport to have the answers for those at this point.
Wonderful. Anyway, so my last question, Ashish, keeping in mind the time. So we spoke about the way forward, more and more remote working being accepted as a norm, work from home also being the norm for certain kind of functions. So we're clearly looking at people working closer to home and generating employment closer to home being the norm for future. How do you see the monitoring of work, of productivity, the kind of output they give, etc.? Are there some technological tools which you are relying on it, or as the capability of managers to control the entire workforce so distributed? Have you seen it evolving and changing?
Yeah, so I think this is a great question. Technology is evolving very, very quickly to enable remote working, and all kinds of solutions are coming up. Very, very interesting solutions coming up. So there are solutions which allow collaboration, whiteboarding, virtual whiteboarding, exchanging of ideas, exchanging of files, exchanging of work. So that's one set of solutions. Another set of solutions is where at a high level you can monitor your workforce in terms of are they going to what kind of applications are they using, and so remote work monitoring kind of solutions are also beginning to pick up pace, and these are not easy solutions to deploy, by the way. So this industry is also nascent, but it's beginning to evolve very, very quickly. And then you have solutions which ensure information security for remote working, right? So data security, data protection, how do you ensure that in remote working? But that's another third category of solutions that are evolving very, very quickly. Just in the last 2 years on all of these three dimensions I spoke of, we have experimented with multiple solutions. And I see this maturing very, very quickly. It's very interesting what's going on with all these solutions. All of them are geared towards making remote working safe, secure, and meaningful for employees and employers.
Very good, very good. So Ashish, thank you very much for the interesting conversation, and I know some of the insights which you provided were really relevant. I'm hearing very similar things from many of the panelists whom I speak to, but the point which you spoke about technology playing an important role, and your personal views on moonlighting are very quite interesting in that sense. And as I said, it's a hot topic out there for debate. Thank you very much, Ashish, for the time. And I'm sure your inputs will be quite valuable for the viewers who are about to see this, and hope to connect you with again sometime later, Ashish.
Thanks, Santosh. Thanks for your time.